Sadly, Harry died when he was 21, 3 and a bit years ago. And obviously, it's still very raw. You don't realise, I think, when someone close to you dies, when they're young especially as well. But even so, regardless of their age, you don't realise how hard it's going to be. And that difficulty never goes away.
Welcome to Guide to Spirituality's podcast with me, Stacey Bauer. It's a down-to-earth space where we talk all things spiritual. Each episode, I'm joined by guests from all walks of life to share real experiences, practical tools and honest conversations about healing, growth and the unseen spiritual world. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep on your journey, this podcast is here to support your path with insight, connection and that little bit of magic. Morning, Joe. Thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
Morning, Stacey. Really good to be here. I sound like a proper radio show guest, don't I? I'm fine. I've just taken the dog for a walk. I'm feeling positive, which is good because haven't been feeling, always positive. So yeah, all good and interested to see where this goes.
We were just saying though, you're looking very, very well. You were just saying you've lost quite a lot of weight.
Yes, because it creeps up on you. It's not just me. My husband has as well. But we're people of a certain age, and my husband's having a new hip, so he can't sit very much. Yeah, so we're waiting for that to happen, and in the meantime, he's in a lot of pain. So food and booze is very self-soothing really for him, and I just joined in quite happily. And I hate to say this, but I am a bit of a feeder. I've had many boyfriends that have got fat because I do big portions. So it's portion control. And all of that and exercise, although my husband can't at the moment, but, he can't wait to get back on the golf course once he has his new hip. And it's amazing how you don't realise that when you put weight on without realising that one day, I caught myself in a window and I thought, who's that fat old lady? I thought, oh my God.
God bless you.
No, it's true. It's awful. Because when I look in the mirror, I expect to see this 17-year-old girl. It always gives me a bit of a shock. But yeah. So feeling positive, which is good.
Good. You're looking more positive. You look a bit more vibrant. Yeah. Ready for it. Yes.
Feel more vibrant. That's
good. So when I met you first, I met you at the Haworth fair.
Yeah.
You were selling obviously your jewellery. And yours is all silver jewellery. It's silver and copper, is it?
Yeah, silver and copper. I have that sort of a birthstone range as well, which I do to make family birthstones and things like that, which are really very good, especially in grief, actually. Having that memory, I've sold a lot of stones of. I have a friend who lost a husband. I have another friend who lost a son, and they've all got these, their birthstone and the missing loved one's birthstone, which it's nice.
Yeah.
But mainly, my own stuff that I make from scratch is silver and copper, which I love.
I want to say, you have your own workshop. You make it all handmade, don't you? All do it yourself.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I started making it in 2016. I saw this necklace that I really wanted to buy or have. And I went on to, on Etsy and, because I thought it's got to be handmade. And it's going to be like £200-300. And I thought, I'm sure I could make one of those myself. And I think my son, Harry, bought me a course of introduction to, silversmithing. So you learn how to use the torch and a sewing and all sorts of things. It's great fun. And I made the necklace. I tried it on. It didn't suit me whatsoever. So I'm so glad that I did the course rather than spending, all the money being spent on a necklace. And so then from 2015, I think that was, or 16, I've been making jewellery pretty much for friends, family. And then a few years ago, Harry, my son, said, you need to start selling this. He said, Mum, you're just sitting there making all this jewellery as a hobby and that's lovely, but you need to sell it. And I
mean, it is beautiful. It's gorgeous jewellery. I mean, I love it. But the one piece that really caught my eye was the Moon Gazing Hare. Now, you made that. And I have to have that. I have to have it. And I still need one, Joe.
We need to talk about it.
Yes. And the thing is that I'm not going to go do a jewellery course to make it myself. I am going to buy it, Joe. I have not got the patience to be making jewellery, I'll tell you now. Or the creativity, I don't think. But when I then started discussing with you how the Moon Gazing Hare came about, you introduced me to your son, Harry. Now, we then had a reading and I managed to connect with Harry very, very well. And what a beautiful soul he is. Will you tell us about Harry, please?
Yes. So sadly, Harry died when he was 21, 3 and a bit years ago. And obviously, it's still very raw. You don't realise, I think, when someone close to you dies, when they're young, especially as well. But even so, regardless of their age, you don't realise how hard it's going to be. And that difficulty never goes away.
No.
It's every single day. I'm, tearing up now, but it's all right because I love talking about Harry. Other people find it difficult because they get embarrassed and uncomfortable when people talk about somebody that's died.
Yeah.
Because I think our nation, we don't talk about death.
No.
And we are sort of bred that way almost to think of it as a taboo subject. And when you look at sorry, I'm going off the subject slightly, Stacey, but as you look at other cultures, death is embraced as a new beginning, wearing white to funerals because it's uplifting and the spirit going to wherever the spirit goes to and possibly for rebirth. Lots of other cultures embrace death in a wonderful way. And I think that, our culture doesn't. I think we're frightened of it. And it's because it's terribly distressing and it has been. So Harry had a seizure and hit his head. He hadn't ever been diagnosed with epilepsy, but he'd started having seizures during lockdown for a few years. Not loads, but he had quite a few. About 6 months before he died, he had a period of having them. But, I think without a doubt it was epilepsy. It's just very, very, very hard to diagnose. He used to get auras he could feel when he had a seizure coming on. It very, very much because there are different types of fits you can have that aren't epileptic, but this is very much epilepsy. So as a consequence, when he died, I've been raising funds on and off for Epilepsy Society, doing all sorts of things. That's another story. But Harry, we were very close. I mean, he was 21, but of course, during lockdown, we'd been together all the time. Yeah. And so there was no sort of, Harry had left home to go and do his own career, and he was still my son, and I loved him. But when he died, we were together all the time, doing stuff. He was a tennis player. He was a very good tennis player. He got to national level, so he compete against the other top players in the country. Okay. And we used to drive around the country together all the time from the age of about 10, 11, doing tennis and sorting the world out and talking politics and talking about books. It was great. We had this very, very close relationship, and he died, and it was just terrible, and it still is terrible. So going back to the Moon Gazing Hare. Yeah. This is a really weird story, and I don't think you know this, Stacey, because I know I've talked to you about it. But after Harry died, I would go walking with the dog. It was Harry's dog. It was his Milo. It's his 16th birthday present. So, of course, I look after Milo now. And I would just be talking to Harry, hoping for signs. And you do all these things when someone died for, and you kind of then go, but that was just a coincidence. It's really, really hard because you want it so badly. You want to see a sign so badly. And when it happens, you just go, it was probably just a coincidence. Yeah. So I was going around talking to Harry, and then I just started thinking, I don't know where it came from. I've always liked moon gazing hares. Who doesn't? They're just beautiful.
They are gorgeous.
They are, aren't they? So I don't know why, I kind of decided that I wanted to do a necklace with a moon gazing hare on it in silver and possibly copper and maybe with some moonstones. And as I was walking around, and I think I've done a bit of looking on the internet, is there a legend about a moon gazing hare? And there isn't. I put in, do hares gaze at the moon? Lots of people have said, well, I think they do, but I'm not sure. And there was no story. So I was walking around the churchyard with the dog, talking to Harry, and then all of a sudden this story just came into my head. And I got my phone out and I dictated it, and literally it flowed. It went so well. So I wrote this story, and I thought, do you know what? And it's about Harry the hare. And I've changed his name. His name backwards is the hare's name, Ya-E-Ra, so it's Harry's name backwards. And I'm in it, and my mum's in it, and my husband's in it. And it's just a little short story that I thought would be good for children. And so the idea was to possibly get it published. And off the back of that, I've written another how the crow lost his voice, and I'm working on how the bear gained her growl, and a few other ones. And I've found a lovely illustrator who said she'll help, but I don't, I want to do it now, here and now. So she's got other things going on, so I'm going to have to see how that goes. But this is the thing that I haven't told you. I met a lady at a craft fair, because I do all these craft fairs at the weekends now. And she said, and we got on, she seems very spiritual. She was a very positive woman who'd had a massive mental breakdown herself about a year ago. And she does sort of shaman-esque type things, I think. And she's been sort of rebuilding herself. And we were just talking, and Harry came up in the conversation, because he always does. I can't help it. I just want to talk about my son. And she said, when did he die? So I told her, and she said, I'm into numerology. She said, he's gone straight up. And I said, what do you mean? She said, so the date he died, she said, he's gone straight up. He's up there now. She said, you will be able to tell where he is. She said, you need to look at the night sky when he died. So I went home and I Googled, how to find out what the sky was doing over Calderdale, which is where he died, on this date. And in the sky, very, very prevalent at the very top of the sky over Calderdale, exactly when Harry died, I put the time in as well, is the constellation of, now I'm going to get this wrong, bear with me, Stacey. It's a constellation, and it's called, where are you? Sorry. Here it is. Hold on. It's called Lepus, and it's the hare.
No way.
You'd love that. I can't believe it.
Stop that right off.
Yes, I know. I didn't even know there was a constellation that is the hare.
I didn't.
And he's at the bottom of Orion's belt. It's almost like a rice standing on top of Lepus, and he's being chased by two dogs. It's the legend that goes with the hare in the sky. But the fact that this was, I'm going all tingly.
I love this.
All of a sudden, this hare thing has become really thingy, connected to Harry for me. And I had no idea why. And it was just in the story, the hare loves running. He can't stop running it. And the Harry, when he was a little boy, I would go and pick him up from school, and he'd go, "Mummy, I just want to run around the playground 5 more times." So I'd have to wait while he ran around the playground 5 more times.
Yeah.
So so that's how I've incorporated, but that's why I felt drawn to the hare and Harry being the hare. But then finding out that the prevalent, this Lepus in the sky above Harry when he died is, and then the numerology.
Do you think then that perhaps while you're walking his dog, do you feel like perhaps he's put that there in your mind, like, look at this. This is the story, and it will come round.
I can't see how he couldn't have done.
Yeah.
I visually, I really do. It's like, it's bonkers because it just came so quickly.
Yeah.
It really did. And the other stories I'm really working on, if that makes sense. But this story was like, and there's the mother of all creation is in the story, who sees the beautiful little hare running around, and all the thing. It was so easy, and I just can't understand how it was so easy. And I just think, there's got to be something in that, hasn't there?
You've got a little clip of that story, haven't you, Jo? Let us hear. I've heard it before, and I love it every time I hear it. It makes me goosebumble. Let's
just do from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. And the story is called The Legend of Yar-e-Ra and Why He Gazes at the Moon. Yar-e-Ra was a beautiful young silver hare who loved to run. He loved to run more than anything else in the whole wide world. He would run all day and all night through the forests, over the hills and dales, up the mountains and round the valleys. When his mother called him to the hedgerow at night to sleep, Yar-e-Ra just wanted to continue to run, even if it was in circles round and round the field where the hedgerow grew. Yar-e-Ra grew older and stronger. The mother of all creation looked down from her chariot in the stars and noticed his beauty. She also saw how incredible he was at running so very fast. And the mother of all creation wanted him to stop. She wanted to ask him to join her and run with her entourage alongside her chariot in the stars. She called out to him. Too busy enjoying leaping across streams and bounding up hills, Ya-Ira would not stop to listen to the mother of all creation. So, in her anger at this, she decreed that if Ya-Ira loved running so much, then he would run for all eternity and never be able to stop. Oh, do you want me to stop there?
I love that. It makes me have a tear, does that?
Yeah. And of course, it gets fixed.
Yeah.
I won't continue. If you're happy with me to stop there, I will. But if you want me to continue, I can continue.
It's up to you, Joe. But is the book out yet?
No. But I've done all the right things to do with regards to. I know it sounds silly because I've been sending it to people to look at, and then somebody said, "What if someone steals your idea?" And I was thinking, "Oh God, do you think that someone would do?"
Yeah.
So the fact that I've got it, when I first wrote it and I've sent it to people, essentially copyrights it.
Oh, does it? Oh,
yeah. I looked into it, so I've got proof that I wrote this at a certain time, and I've sent it to people, and so. It's not out because I'm still waiting for the pictures to go with the story. But yes, that's hopefully going to be done by the end of this year.
Well, let's not do any more then, because let's leave it for people to buy the book, because I'm going to buy it. I want a signed copy. I love it. I love that story. I love it that you've incorporated your son in there, and there's so many, from what you've said, there's so many characteristics of him in there. It's like, I feel like everybody could relate to that with their children. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I hope. So I have a friend, so my background is acting. I don't know whether I ever told you that.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, for years. Nothing.
What have you been on, Joe?
Oh, that's it, nothing. But I used to have a theatre company with 2 friends, and we toured stuff around. I did a lot of corporate acting work, which a lot of actors have to do that. Jobbing actors, you end up doing that for your bread and butter, waiting for, your big call.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is quite a well-known actress, and she's lovely. And she said, you can do it. I think it was on Audible. Audible books. They're like offline, but you can record children. There's a children's section where you can record your book.
Yeah.
And other people said, why not do it on TikTok? Just reading the story, even if I don't have the pictures. And I thought I might do that, actually.
I think that would be a great story, Joe.
Yeah, and I think because it's my story, because I wrote it, I think I get it across in a good way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If I read it and you read it out loud, it would be totally different, because to me, it's a story about a young man. To you, it's so personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you went into hypnotherapy. Did you do that for grief, or were you already doing that before Harry died?
I was already doing it because Harry was having these seizures.
Yeah.
And I was not coping with them very well. I was hysterically anxious. Because you know what, Stacey, the irony is I was convinced that he'd have a seizure and hit his head and die. And the irony is that's what happened. And everyone told me, stop being silly, da-da-da-da-da. And I started, and actually Harry was struggling very much for sleeping at night. He was very anxious himself, just COVID and everything, uncertain about what he wanted to do with his life, because all his, growing up life, he thought he was going to be a professional tennis player. I mean, lots of young kids who do tennis and who are good at tennis do think that that's within their sights, but so very few make it.
Okay.
Not for want of trying, or, a lot of it is you need the money, you need, and the talent, obviously.
Yeah.
So we both started having hypnotherapy, and it's not just, it's something called solution-focused hypnotherapy. And I found that literally within one session, I got my control back. And it is about control. So I had about maybe 6 or 7 sessions from the anxiety, and it was amazing. I used to feel like 10 foot tall and bulletproof when I came away from the sessions. Really confident. Yeah. And then Harry died. And the hypnotherapist knew Harry because he'd had a few sessions with Harry. So it was awful. And and my mum said, you need to go back and have some hypnotherapy. It can't help with the grief particularly, but what it does do is it helps with how you cope with things, how you look at things. So it doesn't take away the terrible, terrible grief and the sadness, but it takes away the possible anxiety, the sleepless nights, the things that, the depression. because of this type of hypnotherapy, this solution-focused hypnotherapy, it's focusing on getting all your energy going into your intellectual brain that doesn't let you be anxious, that doesn't let you stress, doesn't let you be angry, instead of your primitive brain, which does let you feel all those things, which is where we get stuck sometimes when we're feeling all these I'm not just in grief, but in anything that's a difficult situation. If we get ourselves into a state of anxiety, it is our primitive brain or our emotional brain that is in control of us.
Right.
So it worked on that level. So, you take within the therapy, you take little baby steps. You create little steps of what you're going to do, a positive activity, which sounds a bit, but it's really, really, really worthy. And then there's you have trance as well, obviously, at the end of the talking session. So it's talking, it's like mindfulness. What's been good? What have I got to be thankful for? Don't think about the things that are terrible that have happened, because you can't change those. But it's going forward, looking at what is good, what you do have to look forward to, even though that might be very, very difficult. It might be something very, very small, like you've decided to, make your favourite dinner tonight. That's something to look forward to. So it's looking at little things, and then having trance at the end of it, which I know you've experienced.
Yeah.
And it beds it all down and helps your intellectual brain, the clever bit of your brain that's rational. It lets it be in control more. And it's so important. And control is a key word for anyone who's suffering from anxiety or depression or anger, which are the three very, very basic emotional reactions. Being in control helps us deal with that. So for me, the hypnotherapy helped me control my anxiety about Harry's epilepsy or his seizures. And then it also helped me not control my grief, but able to kind of wade through the fog of my grief.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop me from crying all the time or, wailing and, at one point, literally screaming and clawing the walls in, renting my clothing and what have you. But it did help me move in a good way forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I trained myself to become a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Absolutely. It's such a helping people who are suffering is such the most amazing feeling, And I did it for, a couple of years. However, I was also doing the jewellery. That was my side hustle. And I was really, I think when I met you, I'd only been doing it for a couple of months on, doing markets. Because yeah, I only started last year actually doing markets. I've been trying to sell online. Selling online is so difficult. You've got to have promoting. You need to be on TikTok and all sorts. And I just didn't have the energy for all that because I had to do all that for the hypnotherapy as well. Because again, it's all about getting clients in. And I was getting less clients for the hypnotherapy and enjoying the jewellery more. So at the beginning of this year, I decided that I was going to focus on the markets. And I can always, I'm trained as a hypnotherapist. I've got my, diploma, et cetera, et cetera. I can always go back to it.
Yeah.
But right now I want to concentrate on the jewellery because I think that's what Harry would have wanted as well, because he was the one saying to me, you need to sell this jewellery, Mum. And it's actually getting out and meeting people at markets. It's great. Such a good feeling.
It's lovely, isn't it? I love it. I'm a right equal person, me. I used to work in market when I was like 14. I was that everybody passing through, people telling you different stuff. It's like the hustle of it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Well, so do you make custom pieces as well then? So if I came to you and said, right, I want some, I don't know, for argument's sake, I want something for a christening or I want something for my bridesmaids or what have you. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You want that?
So it's a bit of a juggling act for me at the moment because I'm very conscious of the fact that I've got an online shop that has not got all my stuff on it because I'm making, I have at least 3-4 days a week where I'm at the bench making new stuff from stuff that I've sold at the weekend. And then I'm going to another craft fair because I'm literally doing every weekend. So getting things online is difficult and I need to put in a bespoke sort of option because I can do anything. I mean, at Christmas, my fabulous neighbours, I've got these amazing, we've only lived here for just over 3 years. In fact, we moved, me and my husband now, he wasn't then, and Harry all moved to this house in Clayton 3.5 years ago. And Harry was only here for a few years before he died, a few months. But the neighbours are fantastic. And 2 of them came to me, the husbands, and said, can you do something for my wife for Christmas. So, one of them actually had some ideas in his head. And I created a piece that was, I've done a piece that's quite a popular piece that I do remake because I tend to make one-off pieces anyway.
Yeah.
But it's 3 rings all intertwined, but each ring is different. One will be made hammered, one will be smooth, and one will be maybe square wire. And he said, well, is there, I actually suggested it. My neighbour has him and his wife and their 2 boys. So I made 2 large rings and then 2 small rings with him, all intertwined. And it's a beautiful piece. And she loved it. I love it. So it's kind of I like to use circles a lot. I think, lots of jewellers do. Nice, simple, classy, lovely. And, but you can use those circles to mean anything.
Hi, I'm just taking a quick break to thank you all so much for listening to the podcast and for all your lovely support. If this episode gave you something to think about or simply felt helpful, you can support future episodes and my tea habit over at Buy Me a Coffee. The link is buymeacoffee.com/guide to spirituality. Every little bit helps me keep creating, sharing and growing this space, and I'm truly grateful.
So the other neighbour, we ended up doing a piece that I call My World, which is it's like a little pebble that looks like a moon, but it could look like a world. It's recycled silver that I've melted down, and it all comes together in a beautiful molten ball and forms this amazing sort of pebbly thing, and it's got a circle around the outside. And it was a beautiful piece. They were both bespoke pieces. But I love doing that. I love it when a client has an idea, or a customer, not a client, has an idea, and then we put it together. And sometimes it doesn't always work, and we scrap it. But that's the way I work anyway. I sit at the bench and get some ideas, put things together, and think, oh, no.
I mean, some of your pieces are absolutely, they're gorgeous. Really, to be fair, I wouldn't know that you haven't done this for like 20, 30 years. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I almost want to, when you go to like jewellers and stuff and it all looks like lights on it, it all looks fabulous and stuff. I don't think it looks any nicer than yours. Yours is more, I don't know. I can't explain it. Yours is like, I just feel like it's upmarket. Does that make sense? It looks.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And it's difficult with jewellery, because you have some people that will pick up a piece and go, what's this made of? Is it stainless steel? I've actually had somebody say that, and I'll go, no, it's silver. And then I'll get into a chat, and it's nice. And then other people saying that can't be silver. And I'll say, why not? And they'll say, because it's too cheap.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to find a fine line with the pricing.
Yeah.
I think I underprice because I want to sell. I know lots of fellow jewellers I've met at markets, lovely people, and I think they're priced a bit more realistically than mine, as in it should be a little bit more. But, at the moment, I'm just getting established. So although I've been making jewellery for like 9 years, I've only been selling it for this last year and properly making in a abundant way.
Yeah. We need more of it, Jo. We need plenty more of. We need to see more of. Now, you're having, which I still need to pay for my tickets actually, you're having a ball for Harry, aren't you?
I am. So the fundraising that I started off doing, it was when Harry died. So you want to create a totem for your child or whoever you've lost. That is absolutely it. You don't want anyone to forget, because you're never sure, but you want everybody else to be there as well. And obviously everybody can't continue in the way that you're doing. So I thought, you know what? In the first year after he died, I was running on adrenaline, which is very, very common when somebody is grieving. That initial stage, I think your body tries to protect you by pumping out, or your brain does, by pumping out adrenaline to kind of keep you going, because otherwise the pain is so brutal that you would just be on the floor and you would. So for the first 8 months, I was on adrenaline. We did a sponsored walk. I got married. Harry's funeral was the most extravagant. I wanted everything to be the best.
Yeah.
And then I did a ball in the November of 2022. I called it Harry's Winter Ball, and it was round about his birthday. And And I did that, and it was very successful. We raised about £8,000, and it was great. We had some really good stuff. We had a cast, so loads of Emmerdale cast came to it, which was lovely. And it was great, but I didn't enjoy it because I was so nervous because I've never thrown a ball. I'm very good at organising. And I used to be a tennis referee when Harry was playing tennis. I used to organise tournaments and stuff. Oh, yeah, I've done that. It's ridiculous. But I didn't enjoy it because I think I was coming to the end of my adrenaline spurt that I'd had for 8 months. And after the ball finished, I just literally collapsed. I was running empty. And I got myself sorted out through an amazing systemic kinesiologist woman in Newcastle, or not Newcastle, but in the northeast, but that's another woman. She's called Zena Warburton. She's a systemic kinesiologist. And she's exactly. I can't really describe it to you. She talks to your body and finds out what it needs.
Right.
She's amazing. I mean, honestly, to God, if I didn't, she's like a witch. She's just, I went to see her and I felt so, bearing in mind, I'd run out of adrenaline. I was running on empty. I had nothing going on. I was just depressed. And I went to see this woman, and it was when I just started my hypnotherapy training as well. So it had combined because that was it up in the northeast. I went to see her because somebody recommended her, and she had a bit of a chat with me. She didn't know anything about me. And then you lie on the bed, and she starts asking your body questions. So it's to do with the resistance of your body. And it's to do with, she asks it questions of what is needed, what minerals, what vitamins, what sound, all sorts of things. And it's all to do with balancing your chakras as well.
Really?
Well, it is. No, it is. Yes. I can't recommend this Zena highly enough. She's amazing. So I went to see her. I came back. I sang all the way back. It was a 2.5-hour drive. I felt so good. The next month, I booked to see her again. And my appointment was nearly 4 hours long as well, the first time I saw her. And it was really costing, it was really reasonably priced. And then I said to my husband, you need to go and see this woman because his mum had died when just sort of 6 months after Harry, Chris's mum had died. So it was all going on. And we were driving up to see her, and he said, I don't know why I'm going to see this woman, and you haven't really explained it. I said, no, I can't. You need to experience it. That's all I can say. I know that sounds really vague, but he went in to see her, and he came out. He was like a 12-year-old. He was skipping around. He was upbeat. He felt really good, and it lasted. It was, and at one point she does food testing as well. What food your body doesn't like, and we both got tested. We had this big list of things that we couldn't eat or drink, but it's not forever. It's just you've got to cut them out for a while and then slowly start to reintroduce things.
Okay.
And it's to do with inflammation in your body and bringing it down. And I felt so much better after I'd cut some of these foods out. And they were
interesting.
But yeah, it was, and so yeah, so after the bowl that I did when Harry died, I was sorted out by this kinesiology. Then we did another sponsored walk. So we've been doing a few sponsored walks. The thing is, when you're doing a lot of sponsored walks, because I did another one last year, you're asking people to donate, and it's the same people, but there's only so much that people want to donate for a good cause. So it's Show for Epilepsy Society. So I'm thinking, right, I need to do another bowl, and I want to do another bowl round about Harry's birthday again. So this year, I feel more in control, in a better place. I'm throwing Harry's Winter Bowl. And, yes, it costs £45, but with that, you get a drink, you get a 3-course meal, you get a band, you get a charity auction. there's all sorts of stuff going on, and it will be fun. So it's asking people to donate, but getting something from it. So that's in November at Dean Clough at the Arches, which is a fantastic venue, which I've been to a few times myself, but never done anything there, for anything. So that's what I'm doing.
I want my tickets, John. I haven't paid, so I need to. Do you want me to donate? I'll donate to that if you want.
No, just
for the auction.
Yeah, well, see what's there on the day. Last time we had some brilliant prizes. Oh, we had some really good ones. And my friend Karen Blake, who's in Emmerdale, who's fabulous. She actually hosted it. and got everyone going. Yeah. And we did a game called Heads and Tails. My brother hosted that. So it was all great fun. And we've got a fantastic band as well. So at the moment I am trying to sell tickets, but also trying to fundraise because I've got to pay for certain things, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I've already got a fantastic financial company that I used to work for called Pearson Financial Wellbeing. They're absolutely brilliant family company. It's not like I'm plugging them, but I'm not. But they've already given me a sponsor or something. Yeah, which is lovely. So I just need to find a few other small companies or big companies, whatever, to sponsor me, and then we're covered, and then everything is profit. So
perfect. And it's all going to go to epilepsy.
It's all going to go to epilepsy. But there's a caveat. Apart from, so I have a friend, very, very good friend, another acting friend, whose son sadly took his life in July last year after some years of struggling with really very, very difficult mental health. And he was a lovely boy, and I knew him really, and he went to school with Harry. They weren't friends particularly, but we'd been on holiday together and stuff. So that was awful. And his safe place that he found to go was a local charity, local to Elland in Calderdale, called Project Colt. And they help people who are recovering. They help people that are suffering mentally, especially young people. They have a choir, they've got a cafe, they've got now they've started doing I think like a vintage antique, well not antique, second-hand shop. And this lovely they've been going for years, but recently they've really kind of ramped it up. So Nikki is my friend is going to help me with the ticket sales, which she's done previously. So I said we'll split the profits from the tickets between Epilepsy Society and Project Colt.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
It would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
So
when you said that Harry wasn't diagnosed,
yeah,
do you feel like, looking back, do you think there's anything that, more could have been done? What could we have done?
That's really interesting that you should say that, because at one point, Epilepsy Society were going to do an article about Harry. They haven't done it yet. I'm not quite sure why, but it was to do with better help could have potentially saved my son. So the problem is when someone has a seizure and they end up in A&E, A&E's job is to patch them up and make sure they're okay and send them on their way. What they really need to have is need to have a brain scan straight away to discover if it's epilepsy or if it's a different type of seizure that's non-epileptic. But unfortunately, we all know the NHS is on its knees. They don't have that facility in most places to be able to scan them straight away, the electrical activity and everything that's going on in the brain. And this is me talking as a layperson. I've done a lot of research, but I don't know. But I do know somebody had a seizure and they got rushed to a private medical facility, and there was scans straight away because they'd never had a seizure before, and they immediately were able to diagnose epilepsy. And because what's going on, it's to do with electrical activity in the brain. And this is the scary thing. At least 1 in 100 people will develop epilepsy.
Really?
Anyone can get it. There's no defining thing. It's not, we used to hear when I was little, it was like, oh, strobe lights, they'll give you epilepsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen if you are somebody that gets triggered by strobes and you have, epilepsy. But there's so many different types of epilepsy. It's bonkers. There are so many different types of seizures that people can have. But to get a diagnosis, so to put it in perspective, in some respects, I have another friend whose husband is epileptic. It took him 25 years to get a diagnosis.
Never.
He was having seizures, and every time he was being sent to, going to A&E because he'd had a seizure, they were not able to scan. Didn't scan him, and they were putting it down to the fact that he'd had a car accident a few years previously. So that's why they were saying he was having the seizures. But it actually, and so as a consequence, you don't get the right medication.
No.
But so one of the reasons I had this big idea after Harry died. I wanted to raise millions to enable to have sort of, in my head, it was going to be like these super hubs around each part of the country. And if someone's had a seizure and it's an unknown reason, they don't know why, they get taken straight to the super hub to have their brain scanned. But, I think that was me wanting to build a totem for Harry and being unaware of possibly my capabilities.
Yeah.
But as it is, what I'm really focusing on is raising money for Epilepsy Society, but raising awareness, because people don't know, and people who have epilepsy are embarrassed. They don't like to talk about it. There is stigma attached to it.
Right.
Because, as Harry said, in awful teenage speak, I don't want anyone to see me spazzing out.
I see.
I don't want anyone to know that I do that. He's embarrassed. Last September, we did something called the Thames Bridge Trek, where it was 25 kilometres doing all the bridges on the River Thames. And it was about 11, 12 of us that did it. It was fantastic. We were all dead at the end of it. Who knew walking not even that far would be so difficult? None of us did any training. Anyway, we did it. And it was for lots of different charities were doing it, a bit like the marathon. But I met a couple of people that had the purple T-shirts, the Epilepsy Society T-shirts on, and I was having a chat. I chatted to this lovely Asian lady, and she has epilepsy, her sister has epilepsy, and she said within their community, it's massively frowned on, and it can, not by everybody, but by some people, be seen as witchcraft, the devil.
Really?
This whole seizure thing. And that. I mean, I didn't know that. That's just what she told me. So she said we keep it really, really quiet.
Right.
I don't want anyone to know. And then I met another girl, lovely young girl. She was called India. She was in her 30s. Where did she live? I think she was from the south. And I had a really long chat with her. She said, nobody knows, apart from my very close family, that I've got epilepsy, and I've had it. I think she'd had it for 12 years. She said, my bosses know, but I won't tell anybody else because of the stigma attached to it and the embarrassment. She said, I just don't like to talk about it. And if you go on, I don't particularly follow loads of epilepsy charities on, my social medias, but I get a lot of stuff coming up. A lot of it's from Epilepsy Society and some from some group called Epilepsy Nation, and it is getting young people to talk about it.
Right.
Finding people brave enough to be able to say, right, I don't care about the stigma. Let's bust the stigma. And it's to do with education. It's to do with getting people to know what's going on, to know that it can happen to anyone. And I think that's quite important. And it is with a lot of conditions. It's education.
It is very much.
Because otherwise it's a lot of hearsay and, and which is not always the right way forward, is it?
No.
So even though, yes, could Harry have been helped some more? Yes, I think he should have been put on anti-seizure medication. A lot of the times, I was just being told, oh, it'll probably never happen again. That was what I was told after the first one.
Yeah.
And then it was a year, it was 7 months before the next one. The next one, he had a different type of seizure. I didn't even know he had a seizure. I thought he'd fainted. He had what's known as an atonic seizure. He just fell flat on his face. He stood up. We were camping and it was hot and we were in the tent. And he stood up, looked really blank. His arms just dropped to his sides and he just crashed forwards. Luckily, he fell onto a blow-up bed.
Yeah.
Into straight away. At the time, I just thought he'd fainted because it was hot. I did not know it was a type of seizure. And I think that's the type of seizure that Harry had when he died. When I found him, he was face down in the corner of the room with a massive lump on his head and his hands were still in his pockets.
So he obviously didn't know, he just did.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the other seizures they had were known as tonic-clonic seizures. They used to be called grand mals. That's the one where the embarrassing one. That's what he used to call it. But, could they have done it more? I don't know. And I didn't know enough myself. I think because I was in a state of such anxiety, I wasn't dealing with it very well. Because bizarrely enough, at Harry's funeral, 2 of his friends, tennis friends, lovely lads, came to me, and they're both one of them's been diagnosed with epilepsy. He has his seizures at night. Really dangerous. It got to the point where his parents were putting him on a mattress on the floor with only like one sheet because he was getting himself all wrapped up, and very, very dangerous. He'd fallen out of bed and hit his head on a number of occasions. And it was only when he went private that he got diagnosed. And the other boy, who was, very, quite close to Harry, a bit older than him, tennis again. He'd been having seizures since lockdown, strangely enough, and his mum had demanded that they give him anti-seizure medication, and I just didn't know that was an option. Stupid, yeah. But they still, were trying to wait to see if they were getting a diagnosis. So you just don't realise how many people are affected that don't talk about it, that never mention it, as Harry never did. I would have loved to have a different outcome, but it is what it is, unfortunately. It's just sad.
So anybody dealing with like a loss that you have, Joe, is there anything that you can look back now and think, do you know what? I feel like that really helped me. That is something that I would recommend to anybody dealing with loss. Do you have anything like that?
Well, I think you've got to, this is awful because there's this thing about, is it 5 or 7 stages of grief? And it's just not true. You've got to know that you are on a journey and that you have to accept that anything can happen and you're allowed to feel anything. Yeah. And you're allowed to scream. You're allowed to dig a hole in the ground and scream into the earth and let Mother Earth take your, anything that you need to do, because essentially that is what you need to do, anything. And it's, and you've also got to understand as well, I think, that this never goes away.
Yeah.
And that's an awful thing to say, but it's true. So bizarrely, again, there's lots of bizarres in my life, I feel. I now know 4 people who've lost sons. No, I know more than that because I've met 3 other people when I've been doing craft fairs. It's bizarre it's strange how you kind of end up somebody else has lost a child. And the first lady who's a friend of mine, and she's a tennis grandparent. Her grandson, who she was sole carer for, became a very good friend of Harry's, and they trained together at tennis, and we used to go around tournaments together. And her son sadly died of cancer in his 30s. And that had only just happened when I met her, so I didn't understand, and I probably didn't see what was going on as much. And then when Harry died, and she was, he used to go and stay at her house all the time and have fun with Rob, going out and playing golf and tennis and whatnot. She would send me things. She sent me a beautiful little brass plaque. Very simple, and it just said, "One day at a time." And she sent me a heart that said, "You are so loved." And it's just affirmations and remembering that you may feel like you're going through this on your own, but you're not. If you are lucky, you've got a very good group of people around you, and I'm very lucky in that respect. I've been very lucky. My family, my friends have all been absolutely amazing. And if you don't have that, there are so many places that you can reach out to. They're starting to create these grief cafes where people can go and sit and chat with other people that are suffering. And I think sometimes that's this whole, Andy's Man Club, it's good to talk.
Yeah.
Is absolutely true. And also, people feel guilt, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's happened and we can't change it. And guilt is not a very good emotion to feel, but sometimes it surfaces. So I think what I'm saying, Stacey, is there's nothing really that you...
There's no one thing that can be done.
One thing. There's no one thing other than just know that you're on a journey, and to let yourself be on that journey, and to grieve, and to not hold it in, and to lean on other people. That's really important. And just to know that I got sent a beautiful poem, which I've sent on to other people. It was to do with, I can't remember, but it's to do with when someone you love dies, there is a big hole in your heart, and this hole will never go away. But over time, you'll learn to live with that hole. Just think of it as learning to dance again with a broken leg. It's always there. Sometimes it hurts when it's cold, but you'll still dance again. I don't think I paraphrased that very well, but it's something like,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
and nothing is not okay when you're grieving. I think that's really important. There's no formula, and I think you've just got to accept, and as hard as it is, but you've got to accept that this is you now, and it's finding just a different way of living. And you've got to know that that person that you've lost will be mortified if they can see you crawling around on the floor screaming and spitting, which, we've all done.
Yeah.
And they want what's the best for you. And also you've got to know that they're only round the corner. You just can't see it.
That's exactly it.
And that's absolutely true. Without a doubt. Whether, without a doubt. And, you dream about them, they come to you in your dreams. Is that because that's your brain doing that? It might be. Or is that them coming to you in your dreams? It might be that.
Them visiting you when your mind is quiet. Jo, it's been amazing speaking to you there. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to put all your details on the Facebook page. So if anybody wants to find you for jewellery or the ball or anything like that, I'll put your details there and everybody can get in touch with you.
That would be lovely. Thank you. I've really actually enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thought I was going to be quite upset, to be honest. But it's
actually
still very uplifted, and it's awful, really, because the solution is there is no solution. But sometimes there is no solution.
No.
We just keep on keeping on.
Thanks, Jo.
Thanks, Stacey.
Speak to you again.
Yeah, definitely. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to me, Stacey Bauer, on Guide to Spirituality podcast. If you enjoyed this chat, feel free to follow, share, or leave a review. It really helps. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and keep showing up for you. See you next time.